Welcome to the University of Exploration's Student Learning Outcomes Workshop. The agenda today includes covering a history of the learning outcomes in University Explorations, selecting learning outcomes for your course, selecting an assignment, and finally creating a rubric and criteria for each University Exploration student learning outcome in your course. From 2017 Spring 1 through 2018 Fall 1, the University Explorations Committee reworked the learning outcomes and assessment plan to ensure consistent knowledge across all University Explorations courses in a category, and also to make sure assessment across all modalities use the same rubric in each course. The UE student learning outcomes are broken down into essential skills and knowledge. Within skills, you will notice three categories that were used to develop the student learning outcomes through critical thinking, communicating clearly, and quantitative skills. Each category is defined by the student learning outcomes associated with that skill. For instance, quantitative skills has been defined as 1. Demonstrating basic skills in algebra, statistics, or arithmetic. 2. Interpreting data in tables or graphs. And 3. Solving real-world problems using mathematical reasoning. The UE student learning outcomes for knowledge were defined through each category of creative life, human adventure, human mosaic, reflective and spiritual life, and science in a changing world. The knowledge specific to the UE program is defined as the student learning outcomes for each of these categories. The goal at the end of this workshop is to select one skill from the list that will be assessed in your course, select 2 knowledge outcomes for the category where your course resides. In some instances, there may be 3 learning outcomes for your category. You will only need to select 2. Add these 3 learning outcomes to your syllabus. Identify the assignment where the skill and knowledge are assessed. And finally, create and submit a rubric. The first thing to do is to select a minimum of 1 skill from the skills list. In this example, we're going to select CC 1.2, communicate effectively for a determined purpose. Next, you will need to identify your category and select 2 of the learning outcomes for that category. If there are 2, you must use both. If there are 3, select the 2 that best fit your course or assignment. Once these skills and knowledge are selected, you want to add them to your syllabus. Learning outcomes must begin with the specified learning outcomes word for word. Student learning outcomes can be modified after the specific wording to address context, assignment, or assessment. And finally, student learning outcomes should end with the student learning outcome number. Let's look at a specific example. We're going to use the learning outcome, apply knowledge of terms, styles, elements, and devices through analysis of created and artistic works. This is copied word for word from the SLO list. Modifications or clarifications can then be added that specify the context, assignment, or assessment. For instance, the course developer added demonstrating critical listening skills by distinguishing different music elements within a composition and discerning the organizational structure of a piece through the role of music essay, elements of music post, musical blueprint, concert critique, and exams. Finally, at the end, add the SLO number, in this case, CL 1.2. Finally, here, you can see it all put together. Next, select an assignment and create a rubric. So select an assignment or assignments where all of the learning outcomes are addressed in your course. This can be in one assignment or across several assignments. Regardless of whichever you choose, the assignment and rubric will appear in all versions of the course. The assignment must be in a course shell and submitted and graded through chalk and wire. And of course, training will be provided to both students and faculty on how to do this. As you go to write your rubric criterion, remember the criterion should be a narrower focus than your selected student learning outcome, but should represent the same idea as the SLO. For example, in this case, describe the music that was performed using musical terms including genre, style, tempo, and specific instruments is clearly a piece of the broader SLO. Apply knowledge of terms, styles, elements, and devices through analysis of creative and artistic works. Now let's talk a little bit about the rubrics you're going to create. So first off, we're going to talk a little bit about the structure. You must have 3 performance levels: no evidence, partial evidence, and solid evidence. For criteria, we recommend 5 to 7 max. And obviously you're going to need to include all of the skills and knowledge learning outcomes in your course. The next couple slides are going to show some rubric sample formats that you can use. Pick the one that best suits your needs. So for instance, in this case, you may want to fill in each of the boxes with more details about that criterion. You may also choose to add specific points that vary between each of the criterion. Another option is to define the high end of the criterion, solid evidence, on the left side, and leave the rest blank. And if you have another favorite rubric format, you can use that as well. Thank you for your time, and please reach out if you have any questions.